I'm joined today by incredible gentlemen, Sisto, Tafunai, director and owner of Polynest Property Solutions. And Sisto and I have chatted before, and you really got quite a unique background there, Sisto. But I think one of the things that really stood out for me was obviously your passion for helping people within the community, and also, you know, the foundation that you've built your business on, those values and beliefs. So welcome to the call, brother.
Thank you.
We'll kick things off. Just want to share with us about your journey to becoming a finance broker.
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity, James. I'm quite excited to be here this morning. And so to be honest, James, it's not your typical story of someone graduating from university with a university degree in finance. Humble beginnings. I started off with flipping baddies at McDonald's and got promoted to management. And then I decided I wanted to do something else. I was a little bit bored with my employment at the time. So I got into the courier business and I bought a franchise with Fastway Couriers, working hard, working over 12 hours a day to make ends meet. After 2 years into that business, I successfully grew and doubled the income of that business. And then I decided I'm going to sell that and buy a bigger truck. So I successfully do that, and I got a better contract, and I was doing quite well in the logistic business. Managed to put food on the table and pay the mortgage like every other good father would do for his family. Although I was doing really well in the business, deep inside of me, I knew that there's more that God has intended for my future, and most importantly, how can I give back to the people around me? So as I was looking out for greater opportunities, I came to a realization that there is a need for finance broking in the community of Pacific Islanders and African background. Yeah. And being a half Samoan, half African, I can see myself establishing a great connection to the community as a mortgage broker because of my heritage. And also I can see that these two markets is like a soil full of nutrients that is yet to be cultivated. So I decided to take up a greater risk, and I employed someone to drive the truck at the time, and I spent 2 years to study to become a mortgage broker. So 2018, I completed my diploma in finance and mortgage broking, and here I am. I'm going up to 4 years into the industry.
I love it, brother. And your story is similar to myself in that, I grew up with a degree in work ethic. But obviously wanted to have a bigger and greater impact, and then at some point decided to, re-educate myself and then develop. So, I love your story. But look, I can see, I know that you've got other qualifications in the property industry. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and how that helps you to create a good point of difference from other finance brokers?
Well, James, it all goes back to that need that I saw in the community. And mortgage broking and property are totally two different industries. But I went on to do the study on both because I was thinking of the benefits of my clients, by getting the right advice when dealing with someone that not only know finance, but also have an in-depth knowledge about properties, which will help them build that confidence in their decision when they are seeking finance to buy properties. So with the help of some great mentors around me at the time, really helps me to succeed in the journey of getting qualifications, 2 qualifications at both times. So I see the point of difference in what I do is that I'm like a one-stop shop for my clients, getting that benefit.
No, I like that. And I think, what you're sort of alluding to is that you can walk a client from the beginning all the way through that process and hold their hand. So a lot of trust there. Yeah, no, it's brilliant, brother. Look, how do you think the lockdowns have really impacted the property market in your area? I know Melbourne is now in lockdown number 7. Has it had a large impact on the property market in your area? Well,
James, there's always setbacks in the history of property, tracking back 25, 50 years ago globally. But I can see that this current pandemic, it's not only a health issue, but it's also a financial issue because the lockdown has causes a lot of businesses to close their doors and have to do the old ways of doing things, running your business from home and running from your own garage. But as I monitor the market in my area, I can see that the property market hasn't really hasn't really been affected that much, as it was predicted by many. And I strongly believe that because the government of Australia were quite proactive with coming up with solutions to prevent that market crash, and they come out with home builder grants and also slashing the stamp duty 50% off when you buy a property. And I think that really helps to mitigate that fear in people to buy at this time, because they have that fear that the market could crash. So I think with that move from the government really helps to sustain the market, and I think right now is the market is doing really well.
Yeah, agree. Tell us a little bit more about your role with Polynest Property Solutions. How did that come about?
Awesome. So, well, I'm the co-founder and managing director for Polynest Property Solution, which is a company built on to help nurture the great Australian dream of buying your own home. So we help people understand. We help people understand how to get their foot into the market, and also the benefit of buying properties, because when you buy that first property, it's actually can be a mother house for many other properties that you can buy in the future as you refinance the equity and you buy more investment properties. Then you will have the benefit of retiring on a passive income rather than the minimum benefit that the government is giving to the people at time of retirement.
Yeah, and look, someone that's obviously from Maori descent myself,
Yeah.
you know, I know a lot of my family and within my community, you know, they don't really look that far ahead in terms of buying property. When they buy a property, they're thinking of buying a homestead that's going to be, you know, it's the one and all. You buy one property and you hold on to that forever. So how do you sort of deal with that, educating the community that, hey, look, your property is just an entry point into the market, but you can leverage that property to grow wealth. You know, walk me around those sort of conversations and how you go about educating the community on that.
Yeah. So people need to understand when they buy a property, they're buying an asset, and asset is another term for, you know, capital or money. And you know, like from a biblical background that I have, you know, the Bible clearly says that money is a servant, and if you don't put money into work, money is not going to work for you. And how many people in this day and age that, you know, working from 9 to 5, we're constantly stuck in that rat race because they're working for money, but money is not working for them. So people need to understand when you buy a property, you're actually buying an asset, and this asset will grow your asset value, and then you can use that to leverage out and use the capital, you know, that you get out of it to buy more properties in the future. And in that case, it will actually create you another income rather than just your 9 to 5 job that you always fear that one day the boss might sack you.
Yeah, absolutely. And 100% agree with you there. And I think too, is the generation that we're with now, they understand that they don't want to be a burden to their children. And they realize that property can really sort of sustain that and build a foundation so that they can actually be an asset to their children. So no, I love your work, brother. So what do you see property prices doing in the near future? That's the $1 million question.
Well, James, I don't have a crystal ball to tell what will happen in the future. I can't even guarantee the next 5 minutes of my life. But as I mentioned, looking back to the history of properties, you know, 25, 50 years ago, history repeats itself. I remember when I came here in 2009, and when I moved from New Zealand, and New Zealand was actually in recession at that time. And as I moved here to Australia, I remember that Australia was also in the verge of getting into a recession because of the global financial crisis and the crash that happened in the stock market. And a lot of people was losing jobs. So the Australian government was proactive enough, and they were giving out grants. They were giving up to $30,000 worth of grant to get into your own house, your first house, which is, I think with that really helps to push the market once again. And as the government feed back the money into the economy and it circulates. We saw the growth spur in the Australian market from 2013 to 2017. That was a crazy 5 years of property booming. And I think the government was proactive enough with this pandemic as well. And as you see that they give out grants as well. And I think they want to repeat the same thing that happened, in 2009, which helps them to sustain the market.
Yeah, absolutely. And so look, sort of moving forward, what are the 3 key things that someone should do before applying for finance?
Yeah, I think that's $1 million question there. Well, there's actually 4 key things that I always encourage my clients, that these are the things that the bank often look into when assessing your file for loan approval. Number 1 is your employment. Do you have a job? Do you have a job? What is your employment status? Do you work full-time, part-time, casual? You got to have a job to qualify to apply for a loan. The second key thing is your liabilities and expenses. And this comes down to your credit cards, personal loans, car loans, your day-to-day living expenses. And if these areas need some help, usually I will help my client to either consolidate the loans, personal loans together, or help them to advise them. Maybe you don't need that credit card. If you don't have anything owing on that credit card, might as well close that credit card, because even though that you might not have anything owing on it, but if it's a $10,000 limit, the bank will still consider that as a loan, and they will take the minimum payment, and that could affect your borrowing capacity as well. So it comes down. Second thing, living expenses. The third one is your deposit. You got to have some savings. You got to have some deposit to show the bank that you're really interested in buying property, and that's to protect the bank as well. So I always encourage my client, a 10% deposit is always a good thing, because that gives the confidence to the bank that we can lend to this person. So that's the third thing. And the fourth thing, and I think this is one of the most important thing that a lot of people is not aware of, and this is where we have that connection, James, is that credit profile, your credit profile and credit scoring. I always encourage my client, I say, look, when you apply for a job, you need a cover letter. You need a cover letter which shows the employer that you've been having a great history of employment. So that's your credit profile is actually your cover letter that we give to the bank. And the bank will look into that history of your payment history, that showcase to the bank, oh yeah, this person is quite good with their payment history. So why don't we, give them the loan? But most of my client comes up to me, they have no idea what a credit scoring is, what credit profile is. And by the time we look into it, it's just like, very unfortunate news. And that's where I tap into to fix my bad credits, brother. And you give me a great help in that area. And I've got a lot of clients that lined up, and also pretty happy with that service as well. So 4 key things I look into.
I absolutely, I love it. I love the analogy there about sort of applying for a job. Let's create your resume. Let's create your cover letter. But look, just to clarify the key points. So number one is the employment. So having a stable employment history. Number 2, expenses, and sort of paying down some of those expenses, minimizing and consolidating any debt. Number 3 is having a deposit. Some savings there that to show the bank that you can actually budget. And number 4, my favorite obviously is, get your credit file, make sure it's clean, and then obviously create that good cover letter so that when we do apply, it's going to be easier for the bank to take a decision. So brilliant nuggets there, brother. And then just sort of wrapping things up, do you want to share with us, one of your most memorable or rewarding moments that you've had being a broker?
Well, I just, I've got a lot of memorable moments, being a broker, but one of the greatest one is when I pick up that phone to give a client a call that your loan is now unconditionally approved, and you can hear that screaming in the background, and they were like so excited, it's almost like for me personally, it's actually I'm making an impact to that person's life, because not only they fulfilling that dream of paying your own mortgage, and rather than paying someone else's mortgage and making someone else rich while they sleep, you reinvest back into yourself, but also the future generation that comes after you. So I can see myself like that's a really exciting time for me. It's when I give that phone call to the client to tell them that your loan is unconditionally approved.
Yeah, there's a huge satisfaction in hearing the joy in somebody's voice, isn't it, brother?
That's right. That's right.
Well, I appreciate your time. Once again, a huge thank you to you, Sisto, for your time today and for sharing so many golden nuggets. So if anybody wants to reach out to Sisto, we're going to share his contact details in the notes along with their social media handles. So be sure to add, like, and follow. Again, thanks for listening. Don't forget to please comment, like, and share. And if you want to reach out to us here at Fixed Back Credit, you can connect either on the link below or reach out through one of our social accounts at Fixed Back Credit. Remember, your success is our success. And
awesome.